Hello. And we are live on the Gamification Revolution. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. It is a sunny, beautiful Thursday in New York City. And I'm joined by a guest, David Clarke in rural Scotland. We know it's rural because we can see it in the throughput of his bandwidth. Hello, sir.
Hi. How you doing? Yeah.
I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so happy that everybody has joined us in the chat. You guys, so nice to see you. I'm really glad that you're here. If you've never been here before, you'll need to log in with one of your social media contacts, and you can use Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, I think, as well. Log into the Spreecast. You can ask us questions. It's a short 30 minutes. Get logged in now so you can get those questions answered. And for those of you who are joining us in not real time, thanks for joining us. Come back on a Thursday in the afternoon, usually 1 o'clock Eastern. You can join us live on the show. And for those of you who don't know, we'll put more information up about it. My next book, Gamification by Design 2, is up for early access. You can access the beta now and give your contributions to this book, make your voice heard, and get added to the list of contributors. Okay, so David, aka Wizard Keen, can you tell us a little bit about the project that you worked on for the Tate?
So you're breaking up a little bit for me, but I think what you asked was what I've done for the Tate.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so the way the Tate project started was it started as there was a prize that the Tate gives every year called the IK Prize for Digital Innovation, and that's a prize that's got £60,000 development fund attached to it. Amazing. And also a £10,000 cash prize. So I thought, and all you had to do, you didn't have to be a big organization. You could be anybody as long as you've done some major, in inverted commas, project with an institution of some kind. And the year before, I'd done something with a museum local to us where we'd remade Hadrian's Wall in Minecraft using topographical data. And so we actually got a museum to kind of come in, and we all sort of celebrated Hadrian's Wall and looked at that kind of stuff. So from that, I approached the Tate with this idea where they said, we want you to do something innovative within the Tate that got people interested in the art from the BP collection within our museum. So what my idea was basically was that we could recreate artworks, but not just recreate them, but make them kind of almost adventures, cultural adventures. So you could walk into a painting. You could even sort of turn around in that painting and look back at the artist who's painting it. So we could start to examine a bit more information about a piece of artwork as if it was a game that we could enter into, that if it was an adventure. And I like that kind of idea of an adventure, going on a journey inside some pieces of artwork. So that's what I approached them with. They liked that idea, to my utter amazement, and shortlisted me for the prize. Unfortunately, I didn't win it, which we were all a bit sad about. But about 4 weeks later, they phoned me up again and they said, "Look, we really love that idea, and would like to commission you to recreate on a smaller scale some of the artworks that you were talking about." I think what they saw in the proposal was a very fresh way of engaging with young people, especially young people who are playing Minecraft right here today, and they hadn't really nobody had really told museums and organizations about video games and about the power of them. And I think when they did this competition, there was a public voting system with it. And I think they were jolly surprised at the amount of people who voted for this kind of stuff. And when we started to explore kind of the ideas behind it as well, we started talking about, especially with Minecraft, who watches Minecraft and who kind of does things within Minecraft. So there's YouTube, and there's all that kind of YouTube stuff that happens on it. And there's a whole range of different kind of audiences. And the idea of user-generated content as well was really exciting. So from there, we've chosen 8 artworks, and we're kind of slowly building our way through them at the moment, telling stories about the art.
So for folks that don't know, the Tate Modern is Britain's national gallery of contemporary art. It's a very important set of museums. We don't necessarily have, I don't know if we have an official kind of analog in the US, but would be like the MoMA kind of in the United States if it were a national institution. So I guess my question for you is in this context, so you're bringing these artworks to Minecraft, what are users supposed to do in these famous artworks? What are they meant to do with them?
Yeah. So they're not meant to be. Very early on, I made it really clear that these aren't just representations. We could make kind of a representation of a piece of art, and we've got like Andre Derain's painting down the bottom there that we can see within this area. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to answer a simple question, and the simple question was, why these artworks in a museum in the first place? You know, why are they important? I think the Tate have got their own agenda, and which is like they want to kind of almost make sure that they are seen as the brand behind the repository of these great artworks. But I suppose for me, as a sort of a maker of interactive media, what I wanted to do is I want to make sure that we answer that question. And the way we answer the question is, you in a very sort of traditional sense, a lot of Minecraft maps at the moment are adventures. When kids download a map, they download a map to have fun, and they want to go on an adventure, and they want to maybe do that with their friends as well, and they might even want to record it and put it on YouTube. So I wanted to use all those kind of elements to make sure that we could send the young people on an adventure. And so in the one that we're looking at now, the Pool of London. The Pool of London was produced by a French artist called Andre Derain, and we arrive in London and we meet Andre Derain, and he's a bit upset because he's lost his pigments. He can't actually do the paintings. He also tells us a little bit of a story about why he's there in the first place. So we get to learn a little bit about the artist. And as my 7-year-old son, you know, he played this game, and at the end of it, I said, "So, what did you think?" And you know, what did you get? How did you understand it? He goes, "Oh well, there's this guy called Andre Derain, and he was sent to London in 1906, and he painted the Pool of London. He painted all these different areas around London because it was an important place in England, and he used these things called pigments, which are really bright colours." And so because we kind of explore London, we go around kind of all the different places and locations and give people an adventure. People start to, young kids who've never really maybe experienced art in this kind of way, or maybe even never have gone to a museum. I mean, I was in my early 20s when the first time I went to a museum, and I was always very good at art at school, but never kind of fine art to that degree. And my parents weren't very kind of like, they didn't take me to galleries and things like that. So I think there's a lot of people like that. And I think the first time I went to a museum, I took my breath away what I was seeing. And I want to kind of give people with these maps an opportunity to see the source material, or at least understand that the source material of these games that they're playing can be rich pickings if you want to become a storyteller, or if you want to kind of create your own thing. So I'm hoping that there'll be forms of inspiration.
Can you
as well.
talk about the tension between the idea here of using this platform of Minecraft as a way to tell a story about the art and learn maybe about the mechanics of art versus the experiencing the grandeur or beauty of the art in real life? Like, is this an analog for that? Is this meant to supplement that? Do kids still need to go to the actual museum?
Yeah, I think there was there was an early tension between, are we trying to replace the artwork, or what? You know, what are we doing, and why? And I think these are never meant to replace the artworks in themselves. These are meant to be gateways to discovery. So these are meant to be like fun introductions to thinking about what a museum may be able to offer. And some of the things that a museum can offer is that they can offer the and I think this is the thing, what we're doing with Minecraft is we're kind of saying, here's a painting, but we've made it into 3D and we've made a story around it, and you can kind of play it. But everything that we're saying within that story is true, and everybody can find out about it by going to the museum and learning about art. So it's about, I suppose, what I want to do is I want to inspire people, and we've had a lot of feedback from parents saying, my kid wants to now go to the Tate and actually have a look at these paintings for themselves. And I think that's what, part of what I wanted to do was to create that experience, so people were curious and became curious about art in a way that maybe the museums, when a museum puts art on a wall, sometimes they forget how
Sure.
to make it exciting for young people. You have to kind of come to them with a certain knowledge of art history and a certain knowledge of kind of like how to behave in a museum and all these other things. Where in Minecraft, kids know how to behave. Kids have got kind of a way of approaching the scenery and all that kind of stuff, which is unintimidating. And I want to kind of make sure we can kind of maybe transfer some of that unintimidating beliefs about art with a capital A into from Minecraft into kind of real art, so they can re-see art that's on the walls of the museum in a much easier way, and they can start to kind of have a language and talk about it, even if they've never had.
Now, what about the
art
story?
history
You
or
talked
anything
about
like that.
the story is always true. And in the example that you gave us here, the story is about the artist and the context of the artist being able to make the artwork. Is that always the narrative
Yeah,
arc about the artist and the
yeah.
situation, or are there other stories that we could imagine creating here?
Yeah, I think there are truths. Maybe I should have qualified that. So there are truths. So basically, Andre Derain didn't lose his pigments, but what happens within the story is that there are different points in the story which are true. If you said that then there's an underground river within the map, and that underground river was in London and tells a little bit of a story. So we're trying to tell the truth. So when someone kind of looks at the painting, they can say, well, why, for me, why did Andre Derain go to London and paint the Pool of London in the first place? Okay, and when we start to dig into what the Pool of London is, it's a pretty place in London. It's got some docklands. It's got the customs house. It's got there's places where pirates were hung. Okay, so there were and then there's quite a lot of wealth. And when we start looking at the history of that painting, we see that during that period which it was painted at, the most wealth in the country and in Europe was in this tiny little area. Okay, so we have a French artist being sent by his agent. His agent was like, go to London, paint the Pool of London. Everybody's doing it. You're going to sell the work, okay? Because there are rich people over there and they're going to want it on their walls. Okay, so that was partly the reason why the Pool of London was a subject. It's because it was a very important place for a lot of different people. The one in New York, what we wanted to do with the New York one is we wanted to tell a story about New York and about the artist who went there. Now, the original, and this is where we got into a bit of an argument with the Tate about this, because when we wanted to tell a story about an artist who went to New York, had a fabulous time, but then became despondent and despairing about the New York scene, and then went back to England disillusioned. And Tate felt uncomfortable about telling that story because they thought they didn't want anything too depressing or too complicated for their supposed young audience. I think we've and this is our second map that we've done. I think we've got around that issue at the moment. We've also chose different artworks as well, and there were certain artworks that they didn't want us to do as well, because either people were being
Sure.
hung, there was a lot of death. I wanted to do a World War II one, which was Henry Moore, where we actually started out in the streets of London, and there was an air raid siren, and we had to go into the air raid shelter, and that point we saw some of the charcoal drawings that Henry Moore had done in the air raid shelter. That was rejected because it was like,
Too heavy. Right.
It's death. There's suffering and all this kind of stuff. Too heavy. And I was thinking, okay. So before, it took about a year of negotiation to find 8 appropriate artworks that the Tate were kind of happy. And we
Do you imagine other kind of pathways for the story beyond these things? And what about the kids actually creating or recreating famous artworks or context for famous artworks? Is that something on the roadmap or something you've thought about?
Yep. What exactly do you mean?
I guess, yeah. So right now, the story, the stories that you've crafted are stories about the context of the art being created. Kids could also create their own art, right? Would be one thing that could occur. They could also act as famous artists and recreate famous art, right?
Yeah.
What about those things which are more about the creation of art, and how does that fit into your vision for extending this forward?
Yeah. I think what we've got, specifically with the Tate World maps, we've got the first 2 were almost, one of them literally is on rails, so you can't, it's got a linear story. Okay. It's from A to B. And we tell a story, piece by piece. With the New York one and with the Andre Durham one. The Andre Durham one is basically a classic kind of quest game. So you complete one quest and it opens up the next quest. You go all the way through that until you reach the end, and there's some resolution at the end, and there's a kind of a reward as well. Well done, you've done it. With the next 2 maps, the first 2 maps were themed in terms of, they were called City. Okay, so there was New York and there was London. The next 2 they're themed around childhood. So we've got the Toy Shop, which is by Peter Blake, and we've got Carnation Lily Lily Rose, which is a painting by what's his name?
No worries.
I've just been doing it this morning. But anyway, John Singer Sargent. No worries. So John Singer Sargent. So these are 2 artworks when we wanted to make sure they were multiplayer, that they were open-ended and they were playful, and that the user could do whatever they wanted. Okay. I think in terms of what we're trying to do, and I'll talk a little bit about the team that we've got as well now, is that obviously, so you've got me and my wife, and we kind of do the idea setup and the narrative, and also we negotiate with the Tate closely to work out what on earth we're gonna, what stories we're gonna tell, and what things that we would like to kind of just make sure that we're hitting. And then we've got a team of people, and I've got a team of builders, and they're always excited about building this stuff. So it's a great opportunity for them to kind of have a go. And then I've also got a guy called Dragnos, who is a map maker, and he does all the kind of the gameplay mechanics within Minecraft. So he'll use things like the redstone and command blocks to generate the kind of a magic and the interactivity. So he can do things like quests. He can also change the whole way Minecraft looks as well. And also we can, in the latest one we've actually got records, and we're using a resource pack. So the resource pack allows us to change the sounds within Minecraft and actually give additional custom sounds as well. So the next 2 have been much more about open-ended play and playfulness that we hope will echo childhood, and play. So and whether they succeed or not, I think the Toy Shop succeeds really well, and it's a very playful space. and it feels a bit more like a video game, but with all these references to an artwork. So again, rather than telling a linear narrative, we're telling a kind of a shotgun narrative where you might pick up little snippets of information here and there, and it'll make a whole sense to you during
And
your
that to
journey
me,
through play. And you
yeah,
can
that to me
build whatever
feels
you
like,
like.
obviously it's a lot more work, and the craft and investment that you've made in creating this interesting narrative is substantially more than other people who try to do, I think, art in the virtual world, where we've seen that done, particularly in the Second Life era. And it was just like, here's an image of the art on the wall. Let's walk around a virtual gallery, right? So you don't have to leave your
Yeah,
house.
yeah,
Can you talk a
yeah.
little bit about the reactions, other than your own children, the reactions that you've seen, and what do you know about the effect of this idea so far on, on the kids who played it, or on the discussion about how to get people more engaged?
Yeah, so we've had, I mean, there's been a range of different kind of reactions to kind of the playing that we've had so far. Some, uh, the first two maps, we got a kind of a lot of people thought they were like, these are cool, okay? People really liked them, and they were unexpected. I think people um, didn't really, they had different expectations. So the first thing was a delightful surprise for kind of a lot of people who are playing them, especially older people. Younger kids often will play them without even realizing it's a famous so-called piece of artwork, and just sort of just get in and enjoy it, and not think really anything of it. And it's only as they're progressing through it that they kind of they'll pick little tidbits of information up. But it's really up to somebody else, I think, within the kind of like a parent maybe or a teacher, to make any meaning out of that. If the map certainly doesn't, we don't try and do didactic stuff within the map, um, and I have purposefully kept away from Tate wanting us to do that. There was some push right at the beginning to kind of make sure that we hit this information, we hit that information, and we double check it as well, and we make sure that we can get those metrics back, that kids understand this stuff. And I'm much more interested in maybe not doing that and letting kids find out for themselves. And then if it has any meaning, then perhaps a third party down the line can kind of make meaning out of that, whether that's be a teacher or a parent or somebody else, kind of just starting a conversation. And I think it for that's where it becomes very powerful, where you've got somebody else talking about it and talking about the experience of what you've just played. Then those conversations that surround the play and the artwork that you've just been doing are very rich, and are richer than if you maybe would inspire them to go to a gallery and all this kind of stuff. We've had some older players who found them very difficult, okay, and didn't really, and thought. So some of the reactions have been, this is kind of almost like it doesn't do any service to the artwork, and are you trying to substitute this for actually going to see art? And in no way am I trying to do that, but perhaps we need to make that clearer during
Well,
our initial kind of
I don't
outreach.
know. I think I think that's an old person question, right? I asked you that question. I'm an old person.
Yeah,
I don't think a 7-year-old, that's like going through their mind. I don't think that really matters. But
yeah.
how are the kids actually finding it? How are they getting their hands on this?
Well, yeah. So initially, we've got kids they can kind of find out about it and download it from the Tate website. Okay, so there's a direct link to the Tate website. Now, some of the strategies we've got to make that happen is we've got a fan base within the Minecraft community that we can reach out to. And because we've used famous builders within the Minecraft community as well, we can kind of get their backing. So anybody within that kind of the Minecraft community who've got a slight interest in map making and kind of map building has seen our maps, so we can kind of access that. Another kind of strategy that we're very interested in, and it's slowly kind of building up, is that we've designed these maps to be played on YouTube. Okay, so they are definitely very we've had YouTube and making videos in mind from the very start. So we want them to be visual. We want them to be if they're linear in narrative, we want at least 20 minutes of good play per section. So YouTubers will want to pick them up and will want to play them because YouTubers want to create content, and we want our content to be this rich thing. So that
what do you think about
that's one of the kind of.
What do you think about the conflict though? Like I imagine the curb appeal issue of like, here are some Minecraft maps about famous art from the Tate Modern is not necessarily like the most grabby thing for a 7, 8, 9-year-old kid. My question is, so you built this amazing thing that is such a cool learning tool. How are we going to get that into the hands of kids who need to play with it?
Yeah, we've done. I mean, we use the power of Stampy Cat in the toy shop. So we basically got a YouTuber who's he's 5 million subscribers. Because of my relationship with him, I said to him, we've got some information. Like the trouble we had with the first map is that nobody reads anything in Minecraft. Okay, we had signs.
I think you could have ended the sentence after anything. It's not just in Minecraft.
Yeah. So what we thought was let's just put audio in. Okay. So we'll have all the information spoken by a celebrity. Okay. Our celebrity cat. And so he can kind of go in and we wrote a script for him, and it was very, very short little kind of sweet little bits of script saying, especially for the toy shop, who Peter Blake was, when he lived, what he was interested in. These are kind of like almost pieces of information that are on the curriculum for the artwork, if you like. These will give you a language to talk about the artwork, a reason why that we can talk around it. And if I was doing a workshop inside the gallery, I would say, look at this artwork. This is a 3-dimensional sculpture with loads of toys in. Peter Blake used his own toys within this piece, and it's almost like a mini museum. And so we rewrite it so it's entertaining, but all that truth and information is still in there and is being delivered by our celebrity cat. And so whether you're watching that on YouTube and you're even younger, and you're not even playing the Minecraft game, or you're kind of and we've had a couple of very big YouTubers play the game. Now they played the game and they said they didn't say anything about Tate. They didn't say anything about art. They said, we're playing Stampy's toy shop. So and that's how it was listed on their YouTube channel, and that got kind of 300,000-400,000 views.
I think this is amazing. I really would love, and I think some of the folks who watch this show, work in the education field, and I would really love for folks to pick this up, and I'd love to see this added to some art curriculum, here in the U.S. or certainly in the U.K. For young kids to get some exposure to this. And in fact, I think it's going to come up in a couple of other classes according to the chat. But Dave, thank you so much for joining us. Such a cool project. If folks want to follow you, they can follow you on Twitter at The Common People, which is actually really surprisingly easy to spell. And of course, if you're interested in finding out more about the Tate Modern, you can follow the Tate on Twitter at Tate. Thanks very much, Dave, for joining us. Really, really great to have you. Hope to meet you in person soon. And for everybody else, thank you so much for being here on the Gamification Revolution. I'm your host, Gabe Zuckerman. You can follow me on Twitter at @gzuckerman, and we'll be back probably in a couple of weeks with more exciting stories and experts and ideators like Dave from the front lines of engagement and gamification. In the meantime, see you all soon. Take care.